What it do, Kaizoku Crew? It's your boy Kaizoku Ice. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Manga Rares and why you need to buy them right now before it's too late. So, before I get into any of that though, I just have to give a quick shout out to my dad. It's his birthday today on Monday, so everybody say happy birthday to my dad. Leave a like for him. He's absolute dope. I posted a picture of him right here because we got him some Kobe's. He's very happy to have because he be hooping and stuff. So everyone, say happy birthday to my dad. It means a lot to me and to him, I'm sure. But anyways, guys, I'm seeing something crazy in the One Piece market right now. As y'all can see on this Excel sheet that I made, I've looked at the prices for Manga Rares for the past 3 months and compared them to now. And you guys can see like the prices are just going insane. You pretty much, if you bought any of these cards in the past 3 months, you're up. And if you're down, like you're only down maybe like at maximum 5 to 10%, right? I'm extremely bullish on Manga Rares. You guys know that Manga Rares are, you know, the chase hits for a lot of these sets, minus the ones with like the SSP Luffy and the Oda Signed Luffy, right? If you don't have those, excluding those sets, Manga Rares are the cards that you want. They are so hard to get. They're only 1 in every 30 boxes. And I think for some of these Manga Rares, the prices do not, they don't make sense, right? For something as rare as, you know, 1 in every 30 boxes, some of these Manga Rares are going for like, what, $500 to $700? Makes no sense, right? So we're going to be talking about all of that, but let me take a step back because I want to talk to you guys about what I think about the overall One Piece market, because I think it's about to get pretty insane. So I made a video here about the bottom is in, where I kind of talked about how, you know, on July 8th, so about, what, 3 months ago, I said we were about here. You know, prices were still looking good. We're obviously, you know, market's still pretty healthy, but we were still getting cars for like relatively cheap, right? But as y'all can see in that Excel sheet, everything's in the green, and I think we're starting to see this upward trend right here. But I think we're even higher than what I'm expecting, and you know, to see these gains only in September, I think we continue these gains from September to December, and then when the live action comes out, it's just going to keep going up more. Like, it seems so obvious to me, and maybe someone in the comments can tell me, like, I'm stupid for this, but it just makes so sense that in the next 6 months, we're about to see a crazy bull market. And I'm comparing this one to the craziness we had in 2024. So I looked at the prices for the Shanks Manga Rare. Y'all can see in this Excel, right? The price today for a PSA 10 Shanks is $1,700, but January 31st, 2024, a PSA 10 Shanks sold for $2,750. That's insane. I remember I was getting offers for my Manga Rare Shanks for like $2,500 in person. I was like, there's no way I'm selling for $2,500. Like, it's going up to $4K. And I was wrong because it went immediately down after that. But on this next cycle of the One Piece market, you could say bull run that we're about to have, that I think we're about to have, I think we can get some of these cards to maybe that price estimate of $4,000 that I said for that Shanks back in 2024. It's crazy. And, you know, the main purpose of this video is because I don't want y'all to make the same mistakes as me, which was buying at the top. I pride myself in getting a lot of these cards for really cheap. For example, like that Luffy that I've talked about, right? It's now like almost $3K. I bought it for $200, right? But I have made some mistakes. Like, let me look at some of the cards I have right here. Like this Sabo, right? This Sabo, I'm pretty sure I bought for like almost $1,000. And you can see on my chart here, it's only going for like $550 right now. So I'm down about half on that, right? This like Nami, right? I think I bought the serialized Chinese Nami for about $1,000 also. It's probably like $700. I do think that even though I'm down on them right now, I'm sure they're going to go back up during like the peak bull run. But the main purpose of this video is to kind of go over all the different Manga Rares in the trading card game and kind of highlight the ones that I personally think are just going to continue to go up, because y'all can see, you know, we're seeing some crazy gains right now, but I don't think we've even scratched the surface, guys. Like, it's insane. And this is where I need a hater. I need a hater in the comment to just tell me I'm completely wrong, because, you know, I don't want to just like, I don't want this to be an echo chamber where everyone thinks, oh my God, Kaizoku Ice said everything's going to the moon, it's going to the moon. Like, no, I need a hater to keep me like humble and grounded so we can have like better discussions about this whole thing. But honestly, in my eyes, it's as clear as day. Like, these cards are going to go up, especially as we get towards the live action. Like, it's a no-brainer. So let me go over all of these cards and I'll kind of give you guys my opinions on each and every card and what I personally would buy, right now, because I think we're going to start getting close as we, as I said, I think our market's going to go crazy at around when the live action drops, in 2026. But even, in the next, 4 or 5 months in January, I think that some of these cards, like these prices here, I'm going to make a comparison video in January. And I think everything is going to be up at least like 50% more because it just makes sense. Okay. Anyways, OP9 Shanks, right? So I can see on this Excel sheet, column B, I have the raw price as of today, September 14th. Column C, I have the PSA 10 price. I got the raw price off TCG Player and then got the PSA 10 price off eBay. Then I have the percent difference from the raw values from June 25th. I got this from this Excel sheet here. I think I made a video, if y'all want to refer back to it. These two videos, the truth about One Piece TCG Manga Rares, I made May 29th, where I looked at the prices for the PSA 10 cards of all of the Manga Rares, and I made this video on June 25th going over the raw prices for all the cards in English and Japanese. So I use those same values to show you guys the percent differences here. And I think that this gives a really good, indicator of what can expect to see from the cards in the next 3 to 6 to next year, right? So, okay, OP9 Shanks. Raw price today is $1,000. PSA 10 price is $1,700. The percent difference for the past 3 months for the raw cards is about 33% increase, and for PSA 10, it's about a 33% increase also. So, y'all can see Shanks is doing quite well, and to me, I think I even mentioned this in another video. It's a no-brainer that the Shanks would do well. It is the first manga rare from the first set of the One Piece trading card game. That in itself gives this card so much inherent value, and the prices for Romance Dawn is going to continue going up and up. They're not going to reprint it, presumably, ever again. And if they do, I mean, we might see a little bit of a dip. But once again, mangas are so hard to hit. So even if we get a little bit more in circulation, like it still is the first hit, right? And to see a 33% increase, honestly, as I kind of showed you guys here, 2,750 at the peak of the One Piece trading card game. Once you get more people into One Piece from the live action and then from the remake of One Piece, this 2,750 mark, I think that's going to be a common sale price in the next year or so because, one, we've already seen it. It's already touched that peak value of 2,750. At the bare minimum, I'm expecting this card to be a $2,000 card, right? And I think I have seen some people on Facebook and at some car shows trying to sell this card for $2,000. I wouldn't pay for it for $2,000 like right now in September, but I do think, by December, this Shanks is a $2,000 card. That one just makes a lot of sense to me. So if you don't already have the Shanks, I would say go ahead and buy it because I'm expecting us to even crush this $2,700 50 sale. We're going higher than that at the absolute peak of the One Piece market bull run. So that's the Shanks. I love it. The next card is the Ace. I'm a little bit shocked to see some of these gains. So raw price today is $890, and the PSA 10 is about $1,600. The increases have even been higher than the Shanks, actually. So 36% increase for the raw card, and then 77% increase for PSA 10. That's crazy. And I myself actually bought my Ace. Once again, I'll find it here. I got a BGS Ace, which, is, once again, you guys know I don't really like BGS, but whatever. I bought this card at the absolute peak. I bought it for $1,300, and I was kicking myself in the butt because I was like, yo, that was such a bad buy. I bought at the absolute top, but makes me happy to say that we're now up on that card because y'all can see in just a PSA 10, it's now $1,600, and the BGS 10, I'm thinking maybe $100 to $200 more, and everybody loves Ace. That's a given, and this kind of goes back to my thesis and theory about should only collect the characters that everybody loves, right? The Luffy, the Namis, the Zoros, the Aces, the Shanks, the Laws, those are the ones you want to focus on, and it's clear as day, right? To see the Ace go up 36% raw, 77% up in the PSA 10, it's clear as day that the most popular characters are the ones that you want to buy. It makes sense. And following that thesis right there, you can see the Sogeking, right? $387 raw, $550 in the PSA 10. It's only up about 4% in the past 3 months for the raw card, and it's pretty much hasn't changed in value in a PSA 10. And why is that? Because nobody really cares about Sogeking, right? He's cool. He's Usopp, obviously, and Ennie's lobby was amazing. He shot down the flag, right? But honestly, if you're comparing that to like a Sogeking, or not Sogeking, if you're comparing Sogeking to an Ace or a Shanks, I mean, it's clear as day, right? Like, you'd rather have Shanks or Ace because they're just so much cooler, so much better than Usopp. So this makes sense to me, and this is, you know, if you want to just finish off your Manga Rare set, because I myself, I don't even have the Sogeking yet, but the reason why I'm holding off on the Sogeking is simply because I don't think that this card in the PSA 10 is going to reach $1,000 in the next, you know, in the next 6 months during that peak, you know, crazy TCG bull run that I'm expecting to have. I think at this peak, I think this card is going to be more like a $700 to $800 card, which means to me, I need to find the other cards that I personally think are going to go crazier, so I can get those cards right now at a more like opportunistic value, and then get the Sogeking later, you know, when it's like, when it goes up only maybe like another 30 to 50% from here. Like, I'd rather get something else that I think will potentially 2x in the next 6 months, right? So for right now, Sogeking's cool, but not anything I'm looking at. Sabo, it's pretty much the same as Sogeking, right? $361 raw, $550 in a PSA 10. It is up 11% and 22% respectively in the past 3 months. So, you know, Sabo, really cool character, and we're expecting to see him more obviously in the end game. Now that, you know, if you guys remember that one panel, not to spoil or anything, but that one panel in the manga, like, clearly Sabo is going to be a key player, and everybody likes Sabo. He is the other brother of Luffy. And, you know, for 550, you know, if I could recommend any manga rare for, you know, somebody that wants their first manga rare, whether it's raw or in a PSA 10, honestly, I think the best one is Sabo, because Sabo is really cool. He's still, you know, relevant. And for $550, I think you're getting an absolute bargain, because OP04 Kingdoms of Intrigue, one of the first 5 sets of the trading card game, those older sets I think are just going to always do well because they are the OGs, you know, they're the legacy sets, right? So I like Sabo. I don't expect this card to reach $1,000 in the next like year or so. I think it's probably going to settle around that Usopp or the Sogeking press I just mentioned, around that $800 to $900 value. But I think at $550 right now, it's a good buy. So next is Kid, going back to the whole like Sogeking thesis I talked about, right? There's a reason why it's currently down. This card's down about like 4% in raw value and then 4% in the PSA 10. Nobody cares about Kid. Like, he had a lot of potential. All of that potential is pretty much gone. So I think that's why we see the prices accordingly, right? In the PSA 10, this is one of the lowest cards in the PSA 10, $480. Scanning ahead, even old man Rayleigh costs more in a PSA 10 than Kid. That's low-key disrespectful for Kid, especially coming from a really great set from OP05, Awakening of the New Era. But once again, it just goes to show, get the characters that are relevant and nothing else. You know, if you plan on finishing an entire manga collection, then ignore everything I said. But if you're trying to like cherry pick the cards that you want, don't get the Kid. Just do not get the Kid. I can recommend 10 other cards, not even manga rares, that are better than Kid, and you could probably see better returns, right? So not much to say about Kid besides the fact that he sucks. Moving right along, someone that doesn't suck is Law, my GOAT. So raw price, $750. PSA 10 price of $1,000. The increase in raw price has been 15%, and then for PSA 10, it has increased by 11%. I love this Law. It's coming from one of the most popular sets, OP05, and I think that, you know, because OP05 came out in 2023, it's going to be harder to get eventually. And, you know, once we could say all the OP05 is gone, then good luck getting this Law. Law is another popular character. Obviously, you know, he's my guy, right? And I don't know how much more this card can go up. I personally got my Law, just to be transparent, I got mine in BGS 10 for I think like $800 to $900. So I am up on it, which is fantastic. I'd be curious to see if this card goes up any higher. I think the max we'd see for this Law is probably like $1,300 to $1,500. So I do think that if you want this card, you should probably get it sooner rather than later, especially because there is the OP10 Law, which I hate. And I feel like if you are a huge Law fan like myself, you're going to stay away from the OP10 law and just get the OP05 law because it's just better. It's just a better card, right? So, whoops. Oh, wrong tab. There we go. So, moving along. Gear 5 Luffy. I don't have to say too much about this card. This is like the creme de la creme of the trading card game. Raw price as of today is $3,400. PSA 10, $4,600. Insanity, guys. I love to see it. That means the market is going crazy, right? And I expect, in the next like 6 months again, like if more people are getting into the trading card game and they're like, oh, I need the best card in the TCG, they're going after the Gear 5 Luffy. And some other cards I'll talk about later. But Gear 5 Luffy, that's synonymous with being the card that everybody wants in the trading card game. And that makes sense why in the past 3 months it's up 30% from its raw card and then almost 30% in the PSA 10. I love this card. I probably will never own it because I just cannot justify paying that much money for a singular card. I am more of a guy that buys cards like, around like the $1,000-ish mark, probably less than that. And, hopefully, picking the right card and seeing gains on it. But that's a lot of money right there, $5,000. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not a baller like that. I be hooping on the court, but I'm not a big baller like that. You feel me? So I like the card. Maybe one day I'll be able to own it if y'all keep subscribing to me. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, Gear 5 Luffy, amazing card. In the next 6 months, I could see this card easily going for like 6 to 7K. So moving along, guys, Oda Signed Luffy, good lord, this card has been on a meteoric rise, and it makes sense because it's the only card in the trading card game with Oda's signature on it, and you guys know how signatures do if you compare to like White Schwartz or even Dragon Ball's trading card game, right? Those signatures do so well. And on TCG Player, actually, you can't buy it for less than $4,400, but I don't think any have sold raw for $4,400. I think the most recent sale was for about like $2,000 raw. So I went in between $2,000 and like $4,000. I really don't think that Oda Signed Raw is ever going to be a $4,000 card. But as y'all can see, it sold on eBay like pretty recently for $4,000 in a PSA 10, which is crazy. This is a card that's performed the absolute best out of all of the cards in the trading card game in the past year. The raw price is up 117%, and the PSA 10 price is up 122%. That is insane, but it makes sense. This, in my opinion, is one of the best cards and has always been criminally underrated. One of my biggest regrets is not getting this card when somebody offered it to me in a PSA 10 for $1,600 because I wanted to get more pre-errata cards. And, pre-errata cards are great and, I've done quite well on them, but I wish that I had just put my money in this Oda Signed Luffy because I think that this card could keep going up even higher. I think in the short term, it might go down a little bit because we see some crazy buys and buyouts on TCG. So I think we might revert back to maybe like that, maybe like $3,000 range in the PSA 10, raw price, maybe like $1,500 range in the short term, just, to get back to the mean of the prices. But long term, guys, I think this might be the card to own because anything with the signature, as I said, is amazing, right? So Oda Signed Luffy, love it. I'll never have it, probably, presumably, but hopefully one day. Next, we've got the Zoro. Oddly enough, it's down 5% for its raw value, but in the PSA 10 price, it has gone up 36%. It's going for $1,300 as of today, and this Zoro card I'm actually extremely bullish on because the first Manga Rare of Zoro, similar to what I told you guys at the start of the video about how you guys should get the characters that actually matter, Zoro is clearly a character that matters. I can only name one other character that matters more, and it's freaking Luffy, right? So I think that this Zoro could honestly, I think easily in the next month or two, it could reach like 15, 16, 1700. I don't know if this will ever reach 2000 because there's still a lot of OP06 out there. I think it's still plentiful and you can probably find it. So in that regard, there still might be some that gets in circulation a little bit more, but a lot of people's favorite characters are Zoro. Like, besides Luffy, I think the next most popular character is Zoro. Like, all my buddies got tattoos of the 3 swords, right? Like, so it just makes sense why this card should go up. And, it's clear as day. This 36% increase is like what the 4th highest that I've talked about. And it makes sense because it's Zoro. So if you want this Zoro card, I'll probably say buy it sooner rather than later because I'm expecting this card to just continue to go up. Also, in the live action, Makinyu, the actor that plays Zoro, is so freaking cool, right? So just like off of that fact, I think that a lot more people might be like, oh yeah, like I need all those Zoro cards because Zoro's a freaking GOAT, right? So get your Zoro cards before it's too late. That's all I got to say. So moving along, Boa raw price 670, PSA 10 800. Not too much of an increase from the raw and the PSA 10 price. This one's a little bit interesting to me because I would think that Boa would do well because she is a waifu, right? But as y'all can see, we're not seeing any crazy gains, and I'm guessing it's because Boa's not a super major character, right? I mean, compare her to the Straw Hats. All the Straw Hats beat her out in terms of popularity. She is amazing, right? She is absolutely amazing, but to see her price still under like $1,000, it's a little bit shocking, but I can see why. This actually is one of the cards similar to the Sogeking and the Sabo. I don't think this card's gonna go up crazy in the next 6 months, but it is something that I'm gonna personally be taking a look at, and it's something I might be trying to also get for myself. I've been holding off on it because of those reasons I mentioned, like because I don't think it's gonna go up crazy. I'd rather find something that, you know, buy something that I think will go crazy as opposed to getting this one, which I think will plateau around this price point. But yeah, this one's really interesting because, you know, you guys know I love the waifus, and I think waifu theory is a real thing. So why is this thing only $800 in the PSA 10? I don't know, but you know, we'll see in the next couple months to see if this ends up breaking that $1,000 value. Next, we've got one card that I've hated on a lot on this channel. I do have it actually, but Old Man Rayleigh. The fact that I was actually shocked. I mentioned earlier that he costs more than the kid. That feels so wrong to me, but at the same time, you know, like, Rayleigh's pretty cool. He is the second hand of our boy Goldie Roger, right? So it makes sense because he is the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. This card is down 5% from its raw value, but is up 10% in the PSA 10. Similar to the Boa, I don't think this card is going to go crazy at all. So if you need it, buy it, you know, probably like 6 months down the road when it's maybe like $600. But I'd rather buy something else like maybe like a Zoro instead, because I think that Zoro could go up a lot more than the Rayleigh, honestly. Okay, I think we're about like halfway done. How long is this video? 22 minutes. Oof, I've been yapping. I need a little sippity of water here real quick. So, next card, Goldie Roger Manga Rare, crazy card. Raw price, $3,500. PSA 10 price recently, I saw on eBay, $7,500. That is disgusting. That is officially the most expensive card in the trading card game sold in a PSA 10 from like the mainline sets, right? I'm not counting winter cards or any like promos. This card right here is insane. PSA 10. It's up 50% in the PSA 10, 27% from its raw value. Not much to say about this card besides this is similar to the Gear 5 Luffy and the Oda Signed Luffy, the creme de la creme of the One Piece trading card game. It makes sense. I personally don't think that this should be a $7,500 card. I'd rather have, or I'd assume that the Gear 5 Luffy and the Oda Signed Luffy would reach that price before Roger. Like, I would think that Gear 5 and Oda's at least like a 7K card long term. But to see the Roger already selling for $7,500, that's kind of crazy, guys. That's kind of crazy. And similar to the like these higher price cards, I'll probably never own this card. It's hard for me to put a price projection on this card because I would have never seen this card going for $7,500. But if I had to put one for this card, I don't think it's reaching 10K in the next 6 months. I actually think, if anything, this card will probably reach like at the most like 8 to 9. But because we're having OP13 come out with the red Manga Rares, I actually think that might, once again, not financial advice, I'm not telling y'all to do anything. I think that could make the Roger go a little bit lower because, in my opinion, I'd rather have the red Luffy Manga Rare or the Ace red Manga Rare than the Roger Manga Rare. I know the Roger one's cool. It's got like the gold background Manga Rare, but I don't know. Something about Roger not being like, obviously he is the king of the pirates, but the fact that, you know, we're probably not going to see him doing anything besides from like flashbacks and stuff because he's already dead. I mean, it's hard for me to like not choose a Luffy card over Roger, but I might be wrong there. So we'll see how well or how poorly this card does in the future. But I honestly think that we might be capped out. Like, we've reached the absolute max on this Roger. But for some of the other ones, I still think we have more room to grow. So Okay, the other OP9 cards, I think I'll probably just summarize all of them up at once. The Luffy, up 36% in a PSA 10. I actually don't know why, because I was not a huge fan of this Manga Rare Luffy from OP9, but it is a Luffy Manga Rare, and that just is clear as day, guys. Get your Luffy Manga Rares. It's as good of a bet as anything. Everybody loves Luffy, and you know, at one point, let's look at the price for that Manga Rare. What was it? That OP9 Luffy was like $1,100. I honestly thought it was going to go lower about like 2 or 3 months ago, but the fact it went up more is clear as day that you gotta get your Luffy cards. And I'll skip ahead here. For that Gear 4 Luffy, I think that, you know, if the OP9 Luffy can go for $1,500, and I don't think it's the greatest card, for Snake Man Luffy, literally Gear 4 Luffy, one of the most iconic poses where he fought Katakuri, the fact it's only $800, I do think that it could end up reaching that, probably not that $1,500 mark, but easily over $1,000 in the next 6 months because it is Gear 4 Luffy. To me, that's a no-brainer. Anyways, trying to go quick here because I know that you guys probably aren't going to listen for this entire video, but Blackbeard, not much to say about it. Up 2.5% and not up at all. 0% increase in a PSA 10. I don't really care too much for Blackbeard. I have a similar feeling about him with like the Boa card, for example. I just don't think it's going to go up too much. In fact, I think I'd rather have the SSP from OP12 of Blackbeard than the Manga Rare, because I think that the color and the foiling and the texture on that card is just like a lot better than the Manga Rare. So the Buggy, oddly enough, PSA 10 is up 26%. Maybe it's because Buggy is like now even more popular than ever because of like cross guild and everything, but I don't think this card should be even close to $1,000, but once again, it is a Manga Rare, so, you know, in that regard, all Manga Rares, in my opinion, should be like over $1,000 because they're so hard to get. But I personally wouldn't put $850 in this card, like whether it was now or in the next 6 months. I just don't see it. The Shanks is interesting actually, because I feel like the OP1 Shanks is still the best, but this Shanks clearly is doing well also. 15% up in its raw value and 7.6% in the PSA 10. I mean, it's interesting. That's really interesting to me. If I had to rank all 4 of these, I think the Luffy's number 1, and then Shanks, and then Buggy and Blackbeard are pretty much tied. So I guess it makes sense in that regard because Shanks is really popular, but you know, I just don't love the way that this card looks. Like it's not enticing to me at all. So I don't think this card is going to, you know, go crazy. Like, if you're just comparing it, for example, to OP1 Shanks, the Shanks card that you want to own is easily OP1. Like, that is the best Shanks card. This one is like a side profile, whereas OP1 is like him looking like this, facing you. I think that looks better in general. So I would stay away from the Shanks card. You know, if you need it for your collection or you love Shanks, go ahead and get it. But in the next 6 months, I don't think it's going to reach like a $1,500 mark. Right? I just don't see it. The Law, I probably don't need to spend any time on this card. This card sucks, and that makes me really sad because I love Law. I am Law. It is down like the worst amongst all the cards I'm talking about right now. Down 9% raw, down 15% in the PSA 10. Not much to say about this card. If you do like Law and you're looking for a more affordable entry-level card, you could get this one. You know, it's about $500 in a PSA 10, so not bad at all. But, you know, you guys know how I feel about Royal Blood OP10. It's just not the move. So I would stay away from this. The Choppa, man, this card's gone crazy, right? So this goes to my whole theory about those special sets, like the extra booster collections and then PRB sets. These cards should be a lot higher than what they're at because those sets were only printed once. To our knowledge, they only had one wave of those sets and they're not going to reprint them ever again. We don't know if that's a thing or not. I mean, time can only tell because Bandai can do whatever they want. However, because there is such a limited supply of these sets and nobody wants to sell their EB01, for goodness gracious, EB01 box is $300. Like, it's so crazy, but nobody's going to open that set because it's so expensive, and they're probably projecting that the box itself will just continue to rise because it's so scarce. So that means that the Chopper will just always continue to go up because there's probably not going to be that many more in circulation, right? So Chopper is up 13% from its raw value and up 22% in a PSA 10. This is a card that I think everyone needs to have before it is too late. Chopper is very cute. I know I'd be trolling and bashing him sometimes, but he is still Tony freaking Chopper. He is cute. He is the mascot. You could almost compare him to like Pikachu. He is cute and a lot of people love Chopper. It'll be interesting to see once the live action comes out if they do a really good job at portraying Chopper with all of the CGI included. I think that this card could go even higher, right? For transparency purposes, I do have this Chopper. I have it in a BGS 10. I think I got it for actually like only $800 to $900 because once again, you guys know I'm very opportunistic and I think that like I have a good eye for finding like what cards will do well over time. And I still, even if I had to buy this card today for $13.50, I would. I absolutely would smash this card at $13.50 because it comes from the hardest set to like one of the lowest populated sets because there was only one wave of it, right? Hard hit rates in EB01. Chopper is cute, furry animal. Like this one makes just so much sense to me. And price projection wise, I think this card could go to like $1,500 to $1,700, especially because if you look at the next card here with the Gear 2 Luffy going for like $2,200 right now. Obviously, a Luffy cards do a lot better than a Chopper card would, but if you're talking about just pure scarcity, EB01 is one of the most scarce sets. I think that we could probably reach that like $1,700 card for this Chopper in the near future. So, I love this card. Go get your Choppers. Moving along about EB02 Luffy, this card has gone crazy. There's been a lot of buyouts for this card on TCG Player. $1,500 raw, $2,200 in a PSA 10. It's hard for me to say how I feel about this card because I always knew that this card was going to go up a lot. It's gone up even higher than I thought it would for how quickly this, EB02 only came out like what, 4 or 5 months ago and is already like a $2,200 card in a PSA 10. That's nuts, but once again, it just shows that these cards from these special sets are going to do well, and it shows with their prices here with the Chopper and the Luffy. It just makes sense to me, right? I think that this card could actually get to that like $2,500 range, which is insane, but Gear 2 is one of the most iconic transformations in One Piece in general, and it's coming from EB02, which had horrible hit rates. It feels like it could reach that crazy price, but I also don't know because this card has seen a meteoric rise in the past couple of weeks and months. So I'm not sure if we're going to end up like proceeding back to the mean of what we've currently seen from this card. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the card ends up reaching that $2,500 mark or even higher than that. PRB Nami, let me take a quick break here because I need to make sure I get this right for you guys. PRB is one of the most expensive sets, and I think that box itself is currently selling resale for $500. I think it goes even higher because it has the Manga Rare God Pack, right? This Nami card, I think, is also really undervalued. I talked about it in a video, I think, about a week ago, but, this Nami has all the makings for a card that should easily be like $1,500 because no one's going to open up their PRB, or if they do, good luck getting the Nami. But if it takes, about 30 boxes to pull a Nami, and each box is $500, do the math. That's like what? Is that $15,000? Am I trolling? Wait, let me calculate that real quick, because that sounds like a lot of money. 30 times $500. Yeah, that's $15,000 to pull this Nami, right? That is extremely difficult, and I do know that the Nami has a high population count in the PSA 10. I think it's about like 1,400 right now. But man, like, the fact that PRB is so high and, it takes so much to get a Nami, because obviously Manga Rares are hard to pull in general, like, to me this card seems criminally undervalued, and I don't have it, but I'm going to be looking to get this card and maybe even multiples of this card if I can swing it, right? Because it makes sense, talk about the most popular characters, Luffy, Nami, Zoro. Zoro right now is about what? Let me go back up. Zoro is $1,300. Luffy cards, you guys know, like even OP9 Luffy is $1,500. first manga rare of Nami should not be less than 1,000. It should be 1,500. So I'm saying this right now. I expect this Nami easily to reach $1,500 in the next 6 months. That feels so, like, if anything, that's like a low and conservative target. Man, this Nami, I think it could go crazy, honestly. So get your Namis while you still can before it's too late, right? Okay, almost done here. Gear 4 Luffy, I already talked about earlier in the video. This is a good starter manga. OP11 is a great set. Gear 4 Saint Man is really cool looking too, so I like this card. $800. I do think it could go up more because it is a Luffy card. Gold SSP Luffy has gone insane also. Makes sense though, because that's one of the most beautiful cards in the entire trading card game. $4,000 in a PC10. That's pretty interesting. That's only like what? $600 cheaper than the Gear 5 Luffy Manga Rare, right? And I still have a hard time choosing which one I like more, the SSP Luffy or the Manga Rare Gear 5 Luffy. I think I still lean towards Gear 5 Luffy, but the fact that this is only $600 cheaper is pretty interesting, honestly. I don't think I have a price estimate for this card. I don't think it's a $5,000 card. I think it's pretty decent where it's at $4,000, but it will be interesting to see, like, if we see some crazy gains on the Gear 5 Luffy from OP05, I think we could see a similar crazy increase for the gold SSP Luffy from OP11. Silver SSP Luffy, not much to say about. I actually don't really have any comparisons for the rest of these cards, so I'll try to be quick with these, but Silver SSP Luffy is pretty cool, but I'd rather have some of the other Luffys or the gold SSP Luffy. The silver one just doesn't look as good to me, so, you know, from like a collecting purpose, like, it's something that I wouldn't really want to have, but, you know, some people might like it more than the gold, but definitely not for me. The Bonnie, once again, no price comparisons, and I only saw one sale in a PSA 10. It was $1,200, which is way too high, and I think it only went that high because just some people, there's only like maybe like a couple on the market and only maybe like 5 sold on eBay, so that's probably why this is so high. But in the PSA 10, I'm projecting this card to be more around like the $600 to $700 mark. This card has no business being above the Boa. I think the Boa should be higher than the Bonnie. So if anything, my price estimate for this would probably be like $700 to $750, because if this overtakes the Boa, then I think there's something seriously wrong with the market, because that just makes like no sense to me at all. So, okay, almost done. Blackbeard SSP, gold, silver, not much to say. They're actually a lot cheaper than I thought. I thought the gold Blackbeard would be like $1,000 raw, but it's only $725, and for the silver one, it's only $600. So if you're a Blackbeard fan, maybe it's a good time to buy these cards. Obviously, OP12 just came out pretty recent, so maybe that's why it's still pretty low, but I do think that that's still one of the more collectible cards. Blackbeard is obviously one of the, or he is the big protagonist besides Emu, so, you know, I expect to see a lot from Blackbeard in the future, so, you know, maybe this card could go up, but honestly, I probably wouldn't buy it. So, okay, oof, that is it for today's video. Let me see if I had any other things here. Oh, this is just eBay sales, some TCG. Oh yeah, this is crazy. $4,500 for this Oda Signed Luffy. Disgusting, but yeah, I don't think that any have even sold. Yeah, nothing sold for that much, so I don't think that's like a real price, honestly. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I covered everything I wanted to cover. So, Manga Rares, guys, I think right now might be the best time to buy before it is absolutely too late, before we get another situation where, you know, you're completely priced out. The fact that the Shanks went for almost $3,000 only about like a year and a half ago, I think we absolutely blow past that value and we go even higher at this point, because, you know, One Piece is more established and some of these cards are now even more older. So, you know, some of the more vintage stuff, you know, card games only been out for 3 years, but like some of those older sets, right, they're gonna do even better in my opinion. Like it just makes sense to me. So we'll see if I'm right. I do think that overall the manga rare prices will continue to go up. We're going crazy right now in the market. Pretty much I feel like if you get any card, you're probably gonna make money on it, honestly. But, you know, only time will tell. Hopefully I am right about this whole chart here. Once again, I think we're about right here, and we're just gonna keep going up. And yeah, I think it may be like another 3 months, probably in like December. It'll be nice to do a comparison and see, you know, just how close I was to these estimations. But for now, I think I've got the message clear. Get your cards that you want, whether they're manga rares or any other cards, before it is too late, because I think sooner rather than later, it's going to be harder to get some of these cards because they're going to be completely priced out. So that's it for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to say happy birthday to my dad because he's the GOAT. Anyways, I'm Kaizoku Ice. Stay cool, stay chill, and I'll catch y'all on the next video.